So hello everybody. It's midweek chat time. Wednesday, what is it, August 13th? No, 12th. I think it's August 12th, Wednesday, August 12th. Like a lot of you, I have trouble sometimes keeping track of the days, these virus days. It was worse earlier, I think. But anyway, good to be with you and share my time with you. I don't have a babbling brook behind me this week. I got a lot of nice feedback. People enjoyed the soothing quality of that stream behind me. So Eau Claire's got a lot of beautiful spots. Maybe I can take my show on the road. It's a little bit rainy right now, so I'm staying here at the rectory. But so a couple of things going on in the church. So we have our baccalaureate mass. Usually we do that, right before the high school graduations. But we'll honor and pray for and bless our high school graduates at the Sunday 9 o'clock Mass. We continue to have public Mass for the 4:30 and the Saturday and 9 o'clock in the morning. And we do ask if you can register online for that so we know who's coming and we can keep our distancing at a good number right now. We've never had to turn anyone away or anything, but it just helps us what to anticipate. And also, we're going to try again, I don't know, a 40% chance of rain, but for our Summerfest annual outdoor mass, we had it all scheduled last Saturday, and sure enough, the dark clouds started rolling in around 6:15, and by 6:45, when the mass was scheduled for 7, sheets of rain, as a friend of mine described heavy rain the other day, a slashing rain came to the St. James grounds, so it was a no-brainer not to have mass. There were some good souls that are oblivious to forecasts or don't look at the clouds or whatever who came, and among them were the great Dayton family, and I was so happy they came because I got to see their new baby, August. I think you're going to call him Gus. August Stephen Dayton, and he's about a month old now, and we'll get his baptism going one of these days. Also, one of our pastoral council members, Rachel Crucell, and her husband Ben had a baby, I think just this week, whose name is Leo, and I think the middle name is even James. So that's a good deal for us at St. James. So congratulations to the Daytons and the Crucells for sure. I heard that Alice Schulke stopped in the office, a new grandmother, I think that for the first time maybe, if I got that right. It's second, third-hand information, but a shout out to Alice. I know she tunes into these talks every so often at least. So Alice, you and Bob enjoy your grandparenthood. Baby's lucky to have you guys as grandma and grandpa. What else we had? So we had daily mass this morning, and the reading was, where two or three are gathered, there am I in the midst of them. And it was about community and trying to get along. And I just thought, I just had this kind of sinking feeling when I read that. That's part of the sadness of these days of separation. I mean, I know we're not completely alone. I mean, I do see people, but that's the thing. It's not the gatherings. The gatherings are minimized, and here's Jesus saying, "Where two or three are gathered, there am I in the midst." And maybe that's part of the reason we get a little irritable or out of sorts or whatever is happening in our lives during these times of physical separation, as we try to do the right thing and not get ourselves or other people sick. But that, it's a real sadness. I read an article this week and some statistics. 36% of Americans are having trouble sleeping because of worry since the pandemic started. That's over a third. Then it was 18%, so about 1 out of 6, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 11, let's say, have, they just lose their temper. They're finding that they're more irritable, losing their temper more often. I know that when I stub my toe now, I yell louder than I did when I stubbed my toe 6 months ago, I think. So I'm probably maybe one of those get a little more irritated easily, which is too bad. What was another statistic? 32% are eating either more, gaining pounds, or they're eating less because of kind of COVID concerns and stress, so it's affecting us. And the psychologist who was quoted in that article said, that she thought the root cause of these problems is that we feel kind of helpless, that we're kind of the victim of circumstances, and we get mad because we can't do what we want, and we want to do what we should. And so I thought if that's really a core thing, the feeling helpless or feeling victimized by this, I think it maybe calls us to two things to sort of combat that. One is to trust. So when I'm helpless, I can't do anything, I'm called to trust, which is really the essence of faith, right? So that's where our spirituality can come to our rescue when we're suffering problems that may be related to helplessness. And the other thing, so trusting what is trusting God? It might be as simple as just breathing in and breathing out and relaxing and saying, not my will, but your will be done. Let my life serve you in whatever circumstances come into my life. Let love of you and love of neighbor always be foremost in my mind. And I trust that, what did we hear in the gospel the other day, or the second reading? That all things work for the good for those who love God. It's one of those pious phrases that we say, but maybe sometimes we need to trust those words, keep our love for God alive, and share our grievance, share our frustrations with God too. But a lot of this, and then the other thing I think is to do what we can. So the serenity prayer came to me a lot when I was reading that article. For feeling helpless, the serenity prayer, right, from Alcoholics Anonymous, but applicable to everybody. Lord, give me the... I'm sorry, I'm not going to get this exactly right, but give me the strength to change what I can change, and give me the grace to accept what I can't change, and give me the wisdom to know the difference, right? So this whole trusting issue is maybe the grace to accept what I can't change. I'm not in control of the spread of the virus, but what can I do? I can try to, not spread it around. I can put my mask on, those kind of things. So I thought maybe the question as far as what I can do, how can I love someone today? And it might not be the way you usually would. Maybe it's writing a letter, maybe it's prayer, but something where you can go to bed at the end of the day and say, I tried to love somebody today. I did what I could to make a positive difference in the world. I'm not helpless. So that'd be a good thing. And if you're lucky enough to have been loved during the day, maybe again, not in the way that we're used to experiencing that, So I'm not a big, I think I've mentioned before, I'm not a big hugger, but hugs have been part of my life, especially a couple dear friends, and I'm just used to that. And I want to Beth was, and her family did this great job, the dinner, and I just wanted to hug them to death. They were all so, generous with their time and their talents. And I said, I consider yourself hugged, but I can't do it, because the virus. But so there's a loss there. So if that's not how we're used to being loved, without a literal pat on the back or something like that, can we still say, I was really loved by this person today. They really seemed to care about me, or they really showed some concern, and to take that in and to savor that, to let it touch your heart, even if it doesn't touch your skin, So I wanted to mention, I was going to bring the book so I could show you, but one of the books we're reading for a book club is The Jesuit Guide to Almost Everything by James Martin. And we have about a dozen people show up to discuss it on Zoom. I think some more are reading it, but not Zooming with us. And people, I've done that book with 2 groups now, and people really like it a lot. And I think one of the most common pieces of feedback is, boy, I wish I knew this stuff when I was younger. So people in their, later third of life, they're glad to read it. It'd be like things about, seeing God as a friend and why that's an appropriate way, and how to experience God as a friend. There's a whole chapter on that. And then different ways to pray, different methods, techniques, and going through it, and with this real strong conviction that God, as a friend and as the living God, wants to be in relationship with you, and we fuel that relationship. We grow in that relationship through real, vulnerable, heartfelt prayer. So there's lots of ways to pray, and none of it is judged like this is the best or that's the best. But it was just kind of laid it out there, and a lot of people had not said, "Oh, I never thought of praying like that. I never heard you could pray like that. I was just thought this was the way I had to pray." So anyway, it's called The Jesuit Guide to Almost Everything by James Martin, and I think those are chapters 6 and 7. But there's a lot of great stuff in there. Wow. Oh, when I was talking about things you could do to make a difference, we've had a lot of difference makers around St. James lately. I mentioned the Cerny family, the Ebert family was with them down in the kitchen. They're kind of a social circle during these virus times, so they could help prepare the food. And then the Boudries were outside, and the confirmation students. We had a takeout dinner on Sunday for Summerfest. And it was just a great success. We sold about 250 lunches, pulled pork and corn. Thanks, Jim Oweling, for the great corn. I've been touting that corn, and I was confirmed in my belief that it's the best corn by many people who tried it and got back to me and said how good it was. So, I mean, thanks to all those volunteers, it was just fun to see cars pull up and getting to people whose faces I hadn't seen in months, came and picked up a lunch, it was great. Delivered to their cars, so I think we did it quite safely. We've also had a ton of people painting classrooms in our school. Most notably, our super volunteers would be our Ann Henriksen's children, Eli and Emily. And I said them in reverse order of hours spent working. So Emily actually worked a little bit more, but guess what? Emily did 83 hours and Eli did 72 and a half hours painting away in those classes. So that was really awesome. Other people that gave like more than 10 hours from our youth were Elena Milner and Lily Hoshin. So thanks to them. And of course, I think Liz, again, Beth Cerny was sort of coordinating the whole thing. So thanks for getting that going. School, I think September 2nd, scheduled to be the first day. Had a meeting with the Regis president and the pastors today. And, there's a plan because we had fewer students than the public system. We can get people in the classrooms every day with adequate, with the recommended spacing, So everyone's not comfortable with that, and we of course respect that. But I just want people to know, I guess, that we are in frequent, I know the Regis administration, communication with the county health department and aren't doing anything that they think we shouldn't do. So that's coming up. That's pretty soon, just like 3 weeks away maybe, huh? What else we got going here? Father Schultz, our pastor before me here, he's doing well. He has been not chaplain half-time at Sacred Heart Hospital since COVID because he's somewhat over 70. And he's going to be back. They said, it's up to you if you want to come back. And he says, yeah. And if you know Father Schultz, he takes good care of himself. He's spry, he's a healthy guy. And right now, very soon, he's going to take off to Oshkosh, the Jesuit retreat house there, for a good solid week of retreat. I'm sure would appreciate your prayers. And then when he comes back, August 20th, roughly, he's going to be back half-time as chaplain at Sacred Heart Hospital. And that'll be good for the patients there, of course, but also good for the pastors. We won't get called as much to come in because he'll be there. So, anyway, I want to say that the Feast of the Assumption is on Saturday. Okay, and it's when Mary is assumed body and soul into heaven. It's one of the two infallible statements that from papal statements that was declared in 1950, and it's a beautiful feast. That whole body and soul thing gets emphasized. That it's not just her spirit that kind of goes up to heaven, but body and soul. And I remember our church history teacher talking to us and saying, in 1950 when that was declared, the world was coming out of World War II, and World War I wasn't that long ago, and we needed hope. And there was some good feeling, of course, we're emerging out of the war. But it was like a theological statement that God will not give up on creation. God doesn't give up on the stuff of creation, our bodies, our matter. That it's not just Mary's soul that went up to heaven, but her body and soul, just like the earth matters, and the earth will be redeemed one day too. So it's really a beautiful, the victory of God, a beautiful statement. I do want to say, and I'm sorry, I apologize, but we're not going to have Mass on the Feast of the Assumption. You say, well, it's a holy day of obligation, you have to have Mass. Well, it's not. Assumption's one of 3 holy days. I think the other's All Saints and I can't think. All Saints and what would the other one be? I mean, there's 6 of them, but there's 3 of them that have this special situation where if it's on a Saturday or a Monday, that the obligation is you don't have to attend Mass. And they did it not so much for the people, but for the priests. As priests were growing short. I think 1991 they made that rule. So I would like, I'd like to be able to offer it, and I honestly could, but that feast day we're having already 3 masses scheduled. So we have our videotaping of the Mass late morning, and then we have our 4:30 Mass with confessions, then we have the 7 o'clock, God willing, outside. And so it's a pretty heavy day. So I thought I'd take advantage of the reason that they made the rule that it's not an obligation on Saturdays or Mondays. It was really for the sake of priests. So I thought I'd take advantage of that and honor the feast, but not by celebrating Eucharist. So I hope that's not offensive to too many. I checked the staff, thought people would understand and want to see the sense in that, I guess. So, but we honored. I did bring this icon of it. So here's an icon of the Assumption of Mary. So you see Mary in that mandala there, kind of going up in the air, and there's an angel kind of looking at her and supporting her. And then look who that is. Look, she's got like a red string or something like that. It's like a belt. And guess who's hanging on to it? Guess who's hanging on to it? It is St. Thomas. It says that somewhere in there. See it in the white? It's St. Thomas. And so what's that have to do with anything? Well, there's a legend. It's not in the Bible, but so when Mary was dying, all the apostles were with her, and they basically, there's 2 traditions of the Assumption. Some that say that she died and then was assumed body and soul into heaven, and others that she fell asleep, that she never really tasted death. But I think in this story, it only makes sense if she tasted death, because the other apostles left, and you don't think they would leave if she was just sleeping. But anyway, so when the Assumption happens, she is ascending. Well, gosh, I'm sorry to be confused on this point, but if she's alert here, she must have, I don't know. So I don't know about the sleeping or dying issue. I'm sorry, I have to look that up. But so they all leave. And Thomas, guess who's not there? Does it sound familiar? All the apostles are there except Thomas. And there's that other story in the Bible where that's true. After the resurrection, Jesus comes into the locked room where they all were because they were afraid. They locked the doors, and Jesus came to them and said, "Peace be with you." But Thomas was not there. And then when Thomas showed up late, Jesus was gone. And he said, "I won't believe that he was here unless I put my hands in the nail marks." That whole story. Well, so same deal. Everybody's there, and they don't, except here it's reversed a little bit. So they're all there, and they honor Mary, and they say goodbye to her. And then Thomas rolls in, and it's like, where is everybody? And then he sees Mary being assumed into heaven. And it's like, wow, no one's going to believe this. And she said, "Well, here, take my belt." And she hands that belt. It's like proof of the Assumption. So it's not always bad to be late. Is that the moral of the story? That's a little bit of a self-serving moral of the story, because I know that I'm late a lot, and I'm sorry about that. And it's a question I just wanted to consider as a last thing. So is it a sin to be late? I had an experience as a hospital chaplaincy program the year before I was ordained, and we were 10 of us in a group. And I don't even think it was me the first time, though I often am a little late. And Someone came late, and the director, our teacher, our instructor, our mentor, he just laid into the person who was late. He said, a lot of people don't think it's that big a deal to be a few minutes late, but when you are late, you are disrespecting me, and you're disrespecting everyone else in this room, because you're saying your time is more important than our time. And gosh, I remember just freezing in my chair, and I thought, oh boy, that's pretty strong. And afterwards, some of us, as we were just chatting outside of, without him there, we said, well, he's got a little bit of a hang up, doesn't he? He's kind of a little too tense about the whole thing. But, and I think that's partly true, but I think what he said is also partly true, or very true. I remember when I was chaplain to St. Bede's in Eau Claire here, I'd always try to bike out, and I was just generally late, and they were so kind and patient with me. But who wants someone who's always late? And for daily mass here, I don't think I'm ever really late for weekend mass here, but so daily mass sometimes I am, and I always hope people can just sit and pray. But some people have places to go and things to do, and so I guess I want to apologize for the times I'm late. I want to assure you, I don't think in my head my time is more important than yours. I can be late. Mass doesn't start until the priest gets there. I would never think like that. It's ridiculous. But sometimes our actions speak the truth of our lives, even if that's not what we think is true about our lives. So I hate to say it, but I think, maybe in being late, I am saying, my time is more important than yours. And so let's keep that in mind. Even though St. Thomas here wouldn't have seen the Assumption if he weren't late. It's not something to glory in. Let's be understanding of each other and show mercy if people are late. But anyway, so I feel reduced. I'm a sinner, and I seek your mercy, and I'll try to do better. That's what we all need to do, right? So God bless you. Have a great week. You're not helpless. You can always love someone, and when you are loved, savor it, because it is a precious gift that we have. Amen.